I'm Aziz Bawatne, and I'm an architect at Al Muhalhil Group. It's my pleasure to be the moderator of tonight's session titled The Future of Work. It's my pleasure to welcome first the Austrian Ambassador, His Excellency Dr. Sigurd Pacher, to the podium. Please welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to be here tonight with you and to say a few introductory inspiring solutions. I think it's this kind of teamwork, networking, about bringing together the highly skilled and dedicated team at Al Muhalhil Company and Bene's forward-looking products that are the benchmark, the hallmark of success, what we are witnessing here. And without that, and as I said, I'm sure you are not here to listen to me, I wish all of us a successful and interesting evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you for highlighting this partnership. I would like now to welcome our partners, Bene, Austria's and Europe's one of the leading brands in the office environment. Last year, Bene conducted a research under the Research and Development Initiatives titled The Future of Work. This report establishes connections between office environment and the employees as well. The report is based on specialized opinion and assessments of over 40 experts in different fields. In order to compile this report, a Bene team led numerous interviews and roundtable discussions in different cities. And tonight, we are very proud to be hosting our own event to discuss these findings in a local market. By the end of this session, we hope that everyone here, from executives, decision makers, designers, architects, will have enough information to help shape the environment of tomorrow. Representing Bene tonight is Mr. Jürgen Loschenkohl and Mr. Patrick Twoffel. Please welcome.
Hello everyone, good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Your Excellency, thank you very much for the introduction. I know already whom I call the next time when I'm going to a sales pitch. I couldn't do it any better. Over the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, more and more new vocabulary statements are coming up and flying through the orbit. Design thinking, augmented reality, digital transformation, new leadership concepts, concentration, etc. So there is a lot of content in the air, which is for some of us understandable because it might affect us already. For some of us it might be still like a bit of a question mark. So 250 human beings have been replaced by artificial intelligence who are creating marketing concepts based on client data, who are creating marketing initiatives based on client data in a speed and in an efficiency which is incredible, and also the reason why these 250 marketeers have been replaced. And this is what the World Trade Organization is called the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So something which is not maybe happening in one or the other part in the business world is actually happening now. So there's a lot of disruption going on, and we have to be aware of that and have to make up our mind what that means for us. I can be part of creating my own personal future. I can be part of also creating the future for my company. I can have the best product in the world. If I don't have the right people, I will fail, 100%. We are living in a world which is overloaded with information. What was quite limited years and years ago is an overload of information. And unfortunately, all the information what we can gain through the various channels is not necessarily always purely based on facts.
As times change, people change. And everything that makes them individuals, such as interests, living space, and their attitude towards work. That is why Bene has decided to dig deeper. We talked to 40 experts in Vienna, Berlin, and London. And all this knowledge we put into one book with 4 chapters: digital transformation, leadership, the purpose of work, and open collaboration. In those chapters, we give insights to the following questions. Which impact will digital transformation have?
The most powerful changes are going to be orchestrated by humans and robots working together.
We will enter into a kind of collaboration between machines and humans.
So if you get a positive teamwork sort of participation between human and technology, you can actually make the workplace quite a positive thing.
What kind of leadership will we need?
The workplace will be a place where employees question the legitimacy and credibility of management.
Leadership is moving away from controlling and telling you what to do to enabling you, to coaching you, and to help you grow.
Pull people along instead of control people.
Leadership is being democratized.
What will be the purpose of work?
Simply money. Making money as a family, as a person, as a company will not escape the productivity gain.
So what if tomorrow we could go to work to do something else than just getting a salary?
I think if you decide to work, you will be able to satisfy yourself and to grow within yourself.
How will we collaborate?
We will collaborate in a totally other way. We will not be in a hierarchical solution, in a hierarchical organization. We will work together as a network.
Obviously now things are changing. People are getting more and more used to creating those social bonds over the internet.
So I think we'll be relying more on people's innovation, creativity, ways of working together as humans.
Last week they just announced that an actual human heart in a small scale was 3D printed with actual human human cells, and it's operating. Of course on a smaller scale, but it's operating, it's pumping, and it's 3D printed. So what's getting more important are self-adaptive systems. So from these interviews, from the roundtables, what we heard more and more, that hierarchies are actually flattening down. So it's not that you have a pyramid where somebody in the top is telling you what you have to do, but you actually want people who are thinking by themselves. And Steve Jobs, for example, he put it in this way. He said, it doesn't make sense that we hire the most intelligent people if we will tell them what to do, but it would make much more sense if the smart guys we are hiring actually are telling us what to do and how we can adapt.
Thank you very much, Jürgen and Patrick. Yes, the Future of Work report may not have a recipe to success, let's say, but it really helps you understand this change and be part of it. I would now like to welcome our 3 panelists whom are experts in their fields. After our moderated discussion, we'll have a question and answer with the audience. Tonight, we're fortunate to be hosting engineer Khaled Al Fouzan, the Managing Director of the Associated Engineering Partnership. Engineer Khaled Al Fouzan is a graduate of the Oklahoma State University College of Agricultural Sciences. He works as an architect, urban designer, also a landscape architect. As a project manager with almost 30 years of experience, 24 of which he spent managing projects and directing the Associated Engineering Partnership. Engineer Khaled Al Fouzan has worked internationally also as a project manager in the Asian subcontinent and West Africa. He also inspired the planning and design of the largest urban park in Kuwait, where we are tonight, at Shaheed Park. Please join us. Our second panelist is architect Bene Backhouse, the Director of Interior Design at PACE. He has been practicing for almost 3 decades. Mr. Backhouse believes that the key to a successful project is a combination of creativity, attention to detail, and a teamwork. Also, his management styles and approach is very interesting and unique. Bene Backhouse believes that the team members should take part in decision making and be responsible for their own, and take ownership, of their decisions. His managerial skills have enabled him to grow and lead various teams over the years. Please welcome. Last but not least is architect Sebaa Orabi, the head of interior design at SSH Consultants. SSH is a leading Middle Eastern design firm with offices in various locations in the world. At SSH, architect Sebaa leads a team of interior designers and architects on a wide range of projects ranging from residential, commercial, public, hospitality, and retail. Engineer Sebaa Orabi is a passionate designer with over 15 years of experience as in interior architecture. Her past projects include the Oman Cultural Center, Sheikh Jabir Al Ahmed Cultural Center, and Sheikh Abdullah Salim Cultural Center, as well as Al Salam Palace. Please join us.
This is one of the other issues I wanted to talk about actually, is the layout of that offices. When the layout is more of an open space, encourage teamworks. So this will reduce the effect of having a hierarchy in the office. So the open office. Now, we shouldn't really forget when we have that type of offices that each employee or each worker would like to have a touch of his personal work, so a personality in his desk. So we have to give him a bit of privacy and letting him add these touches. So actually the layout of the office encourages the teamwork, where it will reduce the issue of the hierarchy in the office.
Basically, I believe that the future is already here.
Yeah.
I mean, in SSH, we've been working in a cloud since 2013. We've expanded a lot. We were a 300 employee company based in Kuwait, and now we are 1,200 employees spread across 8 territories. So it was inevitable to create these platforms, digital platforms, for us to collaborate as a team. Also, the way we communicate with our clients has transformed. As well as the thinking process, or the engaging our clients in the thinking process. And I'll give you a few examples. In 2013, before that, 90% of our meetings were face-to-face. Now 90% of our meetings are through Skype and digital platforms across territories. And I'm not talking about only meetings that discussing high bullet points. No, we go into MEP coordination and opening the platforms and sharing, and 360 Revit model sharing. So there is a huge opportunities for enhancing your business and enhancing your communicating skills through usage of digital platforms correctly. We used, let's say, we were looking into the documentation process. How do we automate the documentation process and decrease the time needed for us to create all of these contractual documents? So we started to look into programs like Codebook and plugins like Grasshopper, where you use parametric design you can adjust the parameters to create the best result possible. Also 3D modeling and virtual reality, where we engage our client with the design process as well. So if we can do a small 3D mock-up for him, say, okay, yes, no, while he's in the office, we can just change that, alter it, and see it again. So this created a lot of interesting opportunities. And I believe that the future is going to witness more and more digital collaboration and less face-to-face type of collaboration. Or maybe it will transform in terms of what the content will be. It will be more about thinking or creating the atmosphere to think, rather than going through the whole process and the bulk of the work. Plus, we've witnessed also decrease in the admin support since that time till now. And that is because every manager is reliant on his reminders and iPhone and watch, and so yeah, that's in SSH.
And let's say being a firm at this size, with that big number, I'm sure there are also different generations, let's say, within all these locations. So how do you think this digital transformation is affecting the different generations, let's say?
I understand, yeah. I think we've evolved a lot in terms of digital collaboration. We've not evolved that much in terms of leadership, meaning that there's still emphasis on numbers and micromanagement, which sometimes it's because of age gap. So they will look at the numbers as the ultimate value that is created. But in our view, we think that no, the value creation comes from being adaptive. Leadership needs to be adaptive. It's not too tight, not too loose. It needs to be tight enough to know where you're steering to, loose enough to have room for creativity and innovation. Therefore, if you become extremely micromanaging and allow for bureaucracy, this will diminish the room for creativity and innovation, and we will be missing a lot of opportunities in creating greater values.
Which also covers the purpose of work that we were
discussing
earlier.
Correct.
So let's say going back to the physical environment or the typical office, do you think it would still might have a role in the future, and if yes, what role would it be?
I mean, there is a certain charm in intimate face-to-face collaborations, and I'm still a pro for this. But I would see that the content will change, as I told you before. It will be more of a thinking design labs or platforms for certain creatives to exist, not only within the company, but you can also have some institutional leadership coming over, experts from the industries, all gather them in different platforms. Also freelancers. We now rely more and more on freelancers because it's more efficient in our point and it's cheaper. So reducing the cost with the digital collaboration, I think it's something that's extremely attractive for management, but let's forget that we need to create flexible spaces for or a correct atmosphere for these designers and creatives to exist as well.
Architect Ben, so I mean, for example, Sebaa still believes that the office will play a role in the future, and of course we think it will still be physically there, but how would you perceive it in the future? I mean, how different would it look, and what would be different? I mean, in terms of the environment, also in terms of its role.
Well, I think the term office as a whole is a very modern term. I'm quite interested in history, and I'd like to start with the word coffee. Coffee because in 1652 the first coffee house opened in London, and it was a place where fairly wealthy gentlemen could go and have a drink of coffee, but they were actually talking about business. And out of that business came the stock exchange. It was a pure accident. They weren't going to a desk. They weren't picking up phones. They just happened to go and share information, maybe buy shares or sell them or get into insurance. But I think what's important about that is that it was an environment outside the term that we know so well now as the office. And that then led on to the European movement of the Age of Enlightenment, when people actually started to rationally question the world around them. And I think all of these point to the idea that it's really the creation of a place of exchange. The office is somewhere we all go to exchange ideas, to create, to share whatever it is that we need to do by a certain time. And I think that's very interesting as a concept because it moves away from the physical barriers that perhaps many of us put in our minds as far as what we think an office ought to be. So really, it's an environment. It's not a concept as such.
Thank you. And let's say the home offices, for example, would they still have a role in the future?
Well, I think home office has always had a role. I think, again, if you look back in time, I actually brought a little picture of a painting that was done in 1472. I don't know if you can see that. That way. There you go. So there's a man sitting at his desk. I'm sure Bene could do a better job today than that. But, I mean, that was the Renaissance. So what's changed? I think what's important, thank you, is that it's the psychology. We are all social animals. We all need to interchange. And I think, although working from home is something that we all probably do with the technology that we have, we want to go out. We need to exchange ideas, just as we were saying. You know, we still scribble things on pieces of paper. We may have iPads, but it's a fundamental human thing that I don't think we'll ever get rid of. So, yes, working from home, of course, we all do to probably too much, but I don't think we'll all be stuck away in a room somewhere for the rest of our lives. Thank goodness.
So also, like, for example, having, as you mentioned, the, let's say, the different personalities within the company and the different roles, how do you think a firm can actually cater, or a good design, how would it cater for, let's say, all the different personalities within a firm?
Again, I think, and that's a very good question, it comes back to psychology, because each company has its own psychology. If you treat a firm like a person, and you allow its own characteristics to come out, then I think we as designers and architects have done a good job. It's about environment. I think the idea now of sitting down at a desk and always being in the same place every day is soon going to disappear completely. And what will happen is that we will go to places where, depending on what we need to do, we will go to those different environments, which comes into what you were saying earlier about the removal of the hierarchy of you know, the boss and the manager. We will all have something that we need to produce by a certain time, and we are given the responsibility to go and do that. So you need to find the best place to do that.
So a company should actually have different places within its firm.
Absolutely. But if I might just sort of close this, what's really interesting is that I don't think the office will ever die. If Apple are prepared to invest $15 billion in what they're now calling a campus, it's not an office, it's a campus. So that's a place that they want people to come and work. And not only that, they're providing shops, banks, childcare. I think the next question perhaps we ought to be discussing is at what point does our balance between life and work, you know, our home life, where does that start and stop? And that's something I still haven't really come to an answer on.
Any remarks on that?
One remark, Ben. There was a situation in 2003. Bill Gates came to Vienna, and he invited an exclusive round of business people for a speech, giving an update what's happening in the Microsoft world. 2003. So that was at that time. Sorry, it's an Apple now, but smartphones at 2003 not existing. And he was talking about the technology, what we have now on our arms, in our hands, like supercomputers, which were at that time actually just future. And he was talking about working from home, working on the airport, working from everywhere, and Microsoft is going to make it happen. And the majority didn't understand at all what it is. And Thomas Bene, at that time, he was raising the hand and said, "Hello, Mr. Gates, my name is Thomas Bene, you might not know me, but I'm producing office furniture. And what you're saying is that we're not going to have any business in future anymore because you're killing my business with your devices." So there was a bit of a laugh.
But the essence was that Gates said, maybe to a certain extent, but there will always be, word by word, what you just have said, the moment of truth, when people come, and you highlighted it as well, the moment of truth, when people come together again, exchange their experiences, talk about their concerns, their topics, their ideas, and he was recommending us to focus on that, whatever it is. Over the years, then it was named by collaborative zones. Bene brought out parks, but absolutely right. And it's always quite interesting to see these exceptional business leaders, how far they are in the future, and defining and creating that future with their ideas. But luckily, as long as, communicating with a chatbot is one thing, but as long as we are still communicating amongst each other, I think this is something extremely valuable, not to forget and to use this as efficient as possible to get into that collaboration, exchange of information. Just to add, it was really almost one-to-one of that conversation years ago.
Another thing what popped into my mind, because you said the Apple campus where they're providing all the facilities what they need for the daily life, there's even one step ahead when you think of WeWork spaces. They first started as a shared offices, basically. What they're having now in New York is basically living and office spaces. So you're living in the same tower, you're sharing the same kitchen with your colleague who you work in daily life, basically on a project, for example. In the evening, you're standing in the same kitchen again and preparing dinner together. Then you might share a flat with him. So basically, everything is just in one tower anymore. So there's no need actually to leave the building anymore. Everything is happening. Yeah.
With all the pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly.
I think my comment will deviate from what my colleagues are saying. What we are talking about here, and all of the discussion here actually, is turning the office to be your life. This is what I'm hearing. And it's really destroying, to me, the family values. You are either keeping people, as you said, in the Apple campus and providing them with all the banking, nurseries and these things, so please, okay, stay in the office, don't go home. While the others is giving you, no, take your computer and work from home. And sit in the room, don't see your children. So really, it's not, there should be, and we have to work on a line and stop that and have the people live their life and not really be, sorry to say that, the donkey work, and that's it. So this is just to add. Although that may, it might revive Benny's. Okay. Thank you.
So also back to digital transformation, for example, virtual reality and artificial intelligence. What role do you think would they have in the, or what tasks could be performed using these means in the near future?
After what Engineer Sebaa has said, in their experience, since 2013, from the iCloud to the virtual reality of having the meetings and discussing the projects that they are having, and not in discussing bullet points as, okay, no, change this or do that, and then it will come later on. No, what do you want to do? This one, okay, immediately he will see it real, and then he'll give the approval on it because he's seeing it. So virtual reality is there actually. It's only doing the reducing the costs and getting things done faster and cheaper, I would say, because it's being done on the spot. So actually virtual reality here, and I hope it will not be more, because otherwise we'll be working all the time.
So if we want to, let's say, pay attention to more of these tasks that are being automated and by machines, and machines that they try to develop into robots and then smarter robots, do you think, for example, one day we'll have in offices where both robots and employees are working in the same role? And how would that interaction be?
Well, I think to a certain extent we're already doing that, aren't we? All that you're really talking about is how much more these robots and so on will develop, and it will allow us more time and space to spend on other things that perhaps involve more interchange and get us more involved with our minds. So I think the other thing that we should remember is that machinery doesn't always work the way we want it to. And I don't know, but I'm sure you've experienced, you go into the meeting room, everything's set up, and you can't get the connection, or the voice goes, or whatever it is. Or the microphone doesn't work, exactly, yes. So we have to bear in mind that there's always some unreliability about technology, which we have to bear in mind, I think. So, I don't know if you want to say something.
I believe actually the robots will be working together with human beings in architecture office. Basically, I think the tasks that we talked about, I've seen, let's say, reduction in admin work. Yes. So things like, I would say, I would want a robot to take minutes of meeting. That would be great. You know what I'm saying? So, or the advantage of having such digital intelligence is to gather data from the environment around us. And the more they gather data, the more it will allow to provide better service. And I'm not talking about creative or any kind of jobs that require your creativity or artistic expression. We're talking about jobs that could be service provided type of jobs. We were in AHEC, Arabian Hotel Conference, last week, actually. And they were talking about how Amazon and Apple, let's say, by releasing Alexa and Apple Siri to serve the hospitality industry. This is extremely interesting. Imagine that you will go to your room, your Alexa or your Siri is connected to your Siri at home, and then you can go, Siri, wake me up at whatever, and then it's connected to the hotel service as well. And you can order your lunch, it can recommend places to go around you, and they're actively investing in this sector. So I believe that we will witness a similar kind of integration in the future, but it's more related to admin and services, not thinking.
And yes, that's true, and we have seen it already a lot in a lot of places. But also, let's say, with all the algorithms and these things, they're also trying to replace tasks that they're not only about data gathering, but it's also about data processing. For example, in finance and in marketing, also they're trying to, let's say, replace people with algorithms and tasks to do that. Do you think this would happen?
I don't have a vast experience in finance, but I would say in design, I would like segregate this services, admin, and creative work. So I don't think they can replace creativity. They can help us automate the creation of the design process or mass produce creativity, but they cannot create for us. So they'll help us in mass production rather than the thinking.
Any questions?
No, I just wanted to add that although nobody who is working in design and architecture wants to hear that now, but actually there is artificial intelligence what can create pictures, for example, drawing paintings, or even creating music. So this is already happening. So when we're saying that artificial intelligence will not be able to design something, create something in a musical way, architectural way, design way, for example, I think we have to be careful what it really can bring.
Or to understand how to use it best for our own
exactly,
purpose. I think it's finding the advantages. How can it support me? How can it make me more efficient? And not to oversee to be replaced. Optimize.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm not sure about creating
yet.
I think we know that when you go and buy something and then they'll tell you this is a handmade. Well, definitely it will be greater value than the when you buy something, they'll give you handmade. It's better than the machine made.
100%.
So this is why, the creativity of a person far superior to the creativity of any intelligent thing. No.
Agreed.
Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think that to add to what you've just said, there's a concept in Japan called wabi-sabi, which is about the beauty of imperfection, the fact that something has been done by human hands rather than by machinery. And I don't think we'll ever get away from that, around the world. It's a tactile thing that is very true to us. So.
We would welcome now any questions from the audience to our Bene experts here and panelists. So please, ladies and gentlemen, your questions.
As a client, I'd rather have person-to-person meetings. I don't like to have it over the computer
Skype.
or Skype. It doesn't give me the feeling that I would have if they don't come and sit and we discuss it. That's
you see how emotional that topic actually is and how important it is, because it's, as mentioned before, this is not just topics which influences us in the business world, it's actually as equal influencing us in the private world. And I also agree with you that since that update on iPhone, where you can see how much you use your iPhone per day, which really scared me to death, because we're talking suddenly hours, but it helps me to reduce even my engagement via a smartphone. It is really something which, but also in the same time we can't ignore. We have to face it. What does it really mean for me? I have to make my own decisions. But also from a company perspective, if I would have a taxi fleet with 500 cars, and I believe in my service in whatsoever, and suddenly one day later a company which even doesn't have cars is killing my business, so I also have missed the point somewhere. And I agree with you, whatever we have said here today, and some are talking about technology, no one is saying we have to. We have to be aware of what's happening, and we have to make our own assumptions out of that and decisions. How will I handle it myself, and how will I handle it as a company? Thank you very much.
We would like to thank our panelists and partners for being here tonight and for sharing these remarks with us. Thank you. I would like to invite Engineer Khaled Al Fouzan. Please join us. Mr. Bene Backhouse, please. Ms. Sebaa Orabi, please join us. Mr. Jürgen, please join us here. Our partner in crime. Good at crime. Patrick, please. Also, I would like to invite Christina Camacho, the marketing manager of Bene, please to join us. Thank you for your efforts. She's in the local outfit today. So and last but not least, my colleague Ikram Wafai for putting all of this tonight. Please. thank you for.
دوري انا بشكر عزيز موافق اليوم على الجهد اللي قام فيه.
يعطيك العافية. الله يعافيك، الله يعافيك، تسلم. Thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this evening like we did, and we look forward to our next meeting, let's say in a future event.